Hello again, everybody. Welcome back to my channel. I'm Harry Langdon, and today's subject is Heather Locklear. And Heather was a very special subject for me to work with because her career was just being launched. Aaron Spelling, many TV people were after her to do parts in their shows, and she was about 20 years old at this point. And so she was like the girl next door, so to speak. And so it was refreshing for me to work with somebody so darn innocent, and to see if we can get as much energy out of her as we could, because she was very popular at that time in the 80s. She was a lot of guys' favorite, sweetheart. And so I love working with her, as well as the hair and makeup people. We all were rather inspired to work with her. Working with somebody like this is easier for us creative people. We can really start pulling out all the stops as far as creativity, as far as different backgrounds, and take more time doing that, because we know we're not going to have to do a lot of cajoling and asking people to smile and all that. So it's fun working with somebody that is sort of self-motivated, like Heather. As soon as you point a camera at her, she would smile. These are now, which I consider like the youthful side of Heather. This is like her tomboy girl look, and she was in her 20s at this point, and so she was really cute. You can see this glint in her eyes, and the cap and everything was very, again, kind of like tomboy-ish, because she's a very, very feminine woman. And this is part of her youthful segment, and this was really a charming shot. And whoever came up with the clothes concept and the hair, it just really made for a beautiful picture. It's like the college co-ed that really has grown up and glamorous. So we used to create different moods with Heather, which is really pleasurable. And here's a definitely super innocent girl, and it's sort of like a bridesmaid or the bride, the young bride. And so again, whoever did their hair, I think Jeff Jones did her hair and her makeup, and so he just really pulled out all the stops on working with Heather, as we all did. And so these pictures were taken in the early 80s, and so gradually, since we photographed her so frequently, I had to start coming up with new brainstorms of what to do, because I didn't dare have her or her manager say, "You did that on the last photo session." So we started using different backgrounds, gradations, and we had a floor, an illuminated floor. It was all lit with strobe, so we had strobe lights embedded in this floor. We had, obviously various colored paper backgrounds, and so this is, again, it's become a lot of people's favorite of Heather. And so she had a good attitude there. She way confident young woman, and so that's one of my favorite shots. And then gradually, we took chances. This is over a year or two later. We started getting sexier shots on Heather, and he's sort of hesitant to do some shots that are too sexy because we started getting complaints. But Heather did this like an innocent girl, a PJ party or something. So anyway, this was again really one of my favorite shots. And so we had different wardrobes that used to come in for the photo session. This was kind of different, and it's kind of a primitive looking outfit. And so notice the colors of the makeup and the hair all were coordinated to what she was wearing. We used to really enjoy being real creative with Heather, and so the shots were very successful. These shots were being done for various magazines. Shape magazine, Los Angeles magazine. These pictures appeared in People magazine. They're all over. The sessions that I would do with Heather, we never quite sure which magazine was going to use the pictures. We just shot a broad segment of changes with her, so that her publicists and managers would have choices that they could send to various types of magazines, fashion magazines, gossip magazines, so on. So a lot of these shots were not planned too much in advance. We just shot as fast as we could. These are all lit with strobe lights, and so strobe is freezes this motion, subject's motion. These are all shot at a thousandth of a second, and just the tip of a shutter button was the magic that it took to get exactly the right shot. Okay, here's another interesting shot on her. Now we're getting more. This is Heather in her more glamorous poses and features. This background we started using colored vinyls as a backdrop instead of paper, and experimented around. It was fun to experiment with somebody like Heather because we didn't have to take a lot of time trying to get them into the shooting and in the right mood. She was always in the right mood on her sessions. Here's, again, another one that's sort of like an American Indian motif, like chamois skin. And so the sets that we created were sometimes real novel. This is 3 layers of paper. First layer was the blue layer, and I carved slices in it with a mat knife, leaving a green background behind it. And she's leaning on an illuminated strobe lit floor. And again, like I said, it was these shots were done. Maybe the shot would only take about 10 minutes, but the set changes would take more time. So here's the same shot. We were excited to see what Heather would bring in with her wardrobe, so it would inspire us to do with these neat sets. And so we then all of a sudden we started having a whole slew of Shape magazine type shots that we'd do on Heather for bathing suit issues and exercise issues. She had a wonderful figure, and so this was one of my favorites. Here's another one. Heather had a figure where she could do these different poses readily. I didn't have to tell her how to pose. She would do it all on her own, just all on the natch. And so, again, this is some exciting stuff. These were very popular pictures in the magazines around in the 80s, the mid 80s. This is backgrounds. I thought I'd try doing different layers and using transparent vinyl backgrounds to create kind of a wet look I was after, hence the bathing suit and the wettish look in the back. And so she's kneeling on a floor that was made out of lucite, and we had strobe lights embedded in that floor, if you wonder where that light is coming from. And so again, shooting somebody like Heather enabled us to change backgrounds quickly and come up with some ingenious ideas, which I thought was ingenious anyway. And so here's another, what a great figure Heather had. And so this is, again, a real smart looking picture. Again, for Shape magazine, they wanted me to take Heather outside and out in nature. So here's beautiful Heather with her hair and all out in nature. And we used to do a lot of sessions with Heather outside, but the studio sessions we had more control over with the environment. In a studio, I'm able to play the right music, the air conditioning, and the whole ambiance in a photo studio is much easier to control. And Also, building sets is much easier. Obviously, sometimes building a set like this for somebody to pose on is much more interesting than having them leaning on a tree out in nature. So I have prided myself on still sessions done in the studio that have movement and I believe that even though a person is holding still for a picture, they can have a movement and just maybe a fraction of a second when their hair was blown back just right. I thought this was a very vivacious picture. Okay, then here we're getting, Heather brought in some clothes which were a little bit more, I don't know, kind of militant looking, and it's kind of a contrast to her femininity. And so we had a honeycomb grid background here that I got, and it was about 4 feet by 8 feet, and I had another background behind the honeycomb grid and put Harry Locklear in front of it. And so it made for a great composition. And here she is getting kind of like a little bit of a pouty look, but here she is in her more of a militant, grown-up poses on Heather now. Not so much like the old, she's still the girl next door, but a little bit more pouty, rebellious girl next door. So this is again, I thought, really a nice shot with her makeup and hair. Was just really cool looking back on it now. And then Heather's management and Heather decided some of the roles that she had coming up where they wanted short hair. Okay, so now we couldn't quite rely on her beautiful hair blowing and all that to get good shots on Heather. Now it had to be Heather just kind of on the natch now. And she pulled it off, a little bit more tailored looking shots. And here's another one where they meaning her manager, wanted her looking a little bit more mature for more mature roles. And so this is more of a grown-up shot of Heather, which is okay. I myself still like the ones that we did before, and the girl next door, the fresh and vivacious. But anyway, she's still vivacious here. And so now we're getting a little bit more toward 1987. And this is a shot I did around 1987 of Heather. And her life had changed now a great deal. It became a little bit more complicated, and she still was a smart, bright, consummate actress here, but you can see that she's got more of a mature look. And so this is one of the last sessions I did with Miss Heather, and you can see a sturdy, confident air about her. And so we used gray, which is understated, which is appropriate for a confident, sort of like a businesswoman look. So this is Heather, a slice out of Heather Locklear's life, which may be about 10 years altogether. And so it's fun looking back at photos of somebody that I worked with over a period of time like that. There's some of my clients, I worked with them for 20 years, maybe 30 years on and off. But then Heather started getting married after this, and so it wasn't quite the same. Heather didn't have the time to do these elaborate photo sessions like the old days. So anyway, so what I'd like you to do is stay tuned. I want you to look forward to the next session that we're going to have, and I have hundreds of them stored away in my vault. And I always enjoy hearing your comments and thumbs up and all of that. And if you can, try to subscribe to my channel. I always get a kick out of that, okay? And so I'm looking forward to seeing you on the next one. Bye, everybody.